Welcome to the CFA Connections Plain Talk series. This is a virtual think tank and discussion platform where we discuss various industry and corporate cabin crew related topics and subject matter. In this episode, I'm joined by NBAA Flight Attendant Committee co-chairs Julie Kozma and Lesley Revuelto, and we discuss who exactly is NBAA Flight Attendant Committee and the role of the third crew member, aka corporate flight attendants and flight technicians in business aviation. We'll share the 4 Flight Attendant Committee coordinated sessions being presented at NBAA BACE in Orlando this month, as well as discuss the NBAA Flight Attendant Flight Technician Scholarship Programs and much more. Julie, Lesley, and I were literally located all over the world when we recorded this video, so there's an occasional connectivity issue, but the content is crystal clear. Enjoy.
I realized this myself, that you lose sight until you start talking to other people, that there's a lot of people out there that aren't aware that there's a flight attendant committee. I mean, I knew a lot of people that was like, yeah, I heard about this conference. What is that? I mean, they didn't even really know what that was for years ago. The base was always, oh, it's that big convention where they have all the airplanes. All right. So there's just a lot that people don't know. But again, I think because maybe in the past, so much of our focus was planning the conference, because that was very important. So again, I think that we transition as things have transitioned. It could be for the better, because we need to be more vocal and we need to be out there more as the source, as someone that you go to. So it's a big undertaking. We're not, we don't have a team of social media experts and creative directors and things like that. It's just us. Again, I try to stress we all have full-time jobs and we're all volunteers. But we do have the support and the backing that we come up with something and a solution, an avenue, a platform that we can promote and be more, have better exposure, that people think, oh, that flight attendant committee, or I want to go to this NBAA stuff. It's got the backing of being a professional, trusted source, but it's up to us to get that word out. So that's part of our restructure now that we've got some things in place for this year. Lots of things to work on as we take on some new members and expand a little bit this year. You need that. You need to have that, because everyone comes in with a fresh idea. So that is the hope has happened. Their ultimate agenda, as you know, Scott, we don't have to tell you, is promoting business aviation as a necessary tool, that it's vitally important to the economy, to industry. So with that, it does require that we take away a little bit of the fluff. We have to focus on safety. And I think the one thing that I just feel, sometimes flight attendants and myself included, it's easy to complain, but if you're going to complain, if you don't have a solution, have a suggestion. So I think that for me, and I hope for Lesley too, I'm sure, and the rest, is just about, we need to promote ourselves as the importance of a best practice, right? NBAA is not interested in promoting us because we do pretty plating or we know where to get great cashmere blankets. We need to promote our presence on the airplane as an important safety factor and best practice. So, and by starting to have more exposure with social media is helping, and things like this will help us. The importance that, even though, say, for example, the catering and that kind of thing, and the service that we provide in the cabin, it's pretty much 98% of what we do on our job, but we still have to bring focus on the safety, and the importance of really why you're on there and the things that are part of our job description. That's the part we need to promote, and to keep to keep the rest coming along behind us. The service is certainly important, but high quality of service, solid training. We need everyone to help us break the negative stereotype that has trailed us for our entire careers. No one will change that except for us. If we want to have a bigger voice in this community and we want to be taken seriously and get the respect and acknowledgement we deserve, we have to do that work. And when I witness and I see other committees, they have passionate, dedicated people, and they're working on solving problems within their committee. They're not just complaining about it and expecting NBAA to do something about it. They're willing to support us, but we have to do the work. But really, I think the mission differently now for the Flight Attendant Committee is to also to have our presence at base and provide sound educational things that are important to our job, but also about getting the word out. Because we are not required to be on the airplane, it's up to us to take opportunities that we can make our presence known, that we can show people what we do, or the importance of having the third crew member, on the airplane for those that may be, on the fence. We don't have to tell each other how good we are and how important we are and why we should have jobs and be on the airplane. We need to get the word, and we need to change the perspective and the perception of what we do to those that make those decisions. Hiring managers, staffing companies, management companies, the ones that get the owners in the first place. And maybe they need to say, well, do you really know what a flight attendant does? Do you realize it's not just about fixing lunch? Do you really know what this person does on the airplane? We are really more so cabin managers. I mean, these are big airplanes, tens of thousands of dollars of furnishings that we protect. We are, in essence, protecting their investment on the airplane. So I think it's important to start getting that word out to not just us. We don't need to keep telling ourselves, hey, we're important. We need to spread that word to others. So with that are people that have that passion or that interest that want that. I think we all have experienced the lack of respect. Oh, just a flight attendant, that kind of thing. Not being counted part of the crew. Oh, well, you're not, you don't really count because you're not actually part of the crew. We've all experienced that. Lack of acknowledgement, lack of respect, the negative stereotypes. And we don't have to get into what we see online and on social media, but we are more than that. So I say to people that feel that way and want to help change that, we have opportunities through NBAA and through some other channels too. People want to give us the opportunity to participate in print or podcast or things like that. There's so many times you might see hear a podcast or an interview, and it'll talk about the pilot and the mechanic and the air traffic controller and the line guy at the FBO, and you're like, what about the flight attendant? What happened to that position, right? We're never there, but we tend to stay silent. So by us demanding to be present at the table, that's how we get our voice heard. So for those that sort of feel that passion and want to try to make it better, I'm not expecting to change the world. I'm not expecting to suddenly demand that the FAA requires us to be airplane, but I want to start changing the thought and making people realize that what the flight attendant role today really is. Our airplanes are getting bigger and bigger. These cabins are huge. There's a lot to maintain back there, a lot of intricate systems. Again, for the safety factor part of it, and as you mentioned earlier, it happens so rarely, it's easy to forget. But I try to liken the flight attendant cabin crew member position to a seatbelt. Why do you wear a seatbelt? Just in case I'm in an accident, right? So why would you have a cabin crew member on the airplane? Just in case, right? You can have a fire on board if you have 10 people, but you can still have a fire on board with one. And I guess I just say to those that think that that's not effective, well, that's okay. We're going to try it anyway, because it's better than being silent.
Starting off this year with our sessions, I think it's a really good balance. We've got the professionalism, we've got catering, we've got some tax and law and contract rates, and then we've got the fire department. So I think we have a really well-rounded, and then you've got your session at 4:00 on Tuesday. It's Not What I Said? Is that the name of it? So I think we're finding that balance. And I think once we do, then that's one hurdle we've crossed.
I think you hit on it. Our career is a balance. And I think those of us that have been doing it long enough that we fought for many years for the justification of the third crew member. I mean, because we're not required on 19 seats or less. And so we fought for cabin safety training. And don't assume that that's just a natural thing anymore. It's still a battle, and I think a lot of people get distracted with the shiny pretty things, which is also our career. Setting up beautiful stagings on the aircraft and doing hospitality skills and platings and even high-end cooking. There's sommeliers and chefs on board now, but we can't lose the fact on the safety aspect. That is why, or at least we should have the philosophy, that's the true reason why we're on board these aircraft. And then we're trying to find that balance, between the careers, but I get a little concerned when it keeps shifting back and forth, because we can't lose sight of that. And that's why I was really pleased to see the schedule of these sessions that you all are coordinating at BACE. The following are the 4 education sessions taking place at NBAA BACE and were coordinated by the NBAA Flight Attendant Committee. First, on Tuesday, October 18th, which is day 1 of the convention, at 1 p.m. they have How Safe is the Food on Your Flight? This is a great session on food handling safety on board business jets. At 2:30 on Tuesday, The Other Side of an Emergency. This presentation is based on the perspective of ground emergency responders of an aviation emergency. This session should be really fascinating. On Wednesday, October 19th, day 2 of the convention, at 1 p.m., Foundations of a Successful Catering Order. This session is presented by international and domestic caterers. And finally, at 2:30, they have Are You a Contract Employee? Let's discuss compensation, taxes, and insurance. This session covers all the ins and outs of being an independent contractor and the benefits of operating as an LLC. Plus, I have 2 other sessions that I think you may find of interest if you're attending the convention. On Tuesday at 4 o'clock, It's Not What You Said. This session dives deep into the post-pandemic work culture that we all experienced, as well as communication breakdowns and biases in business aviation. This session is co-presented by yours truly. And lastly, on Wednesday at 4 p.m., Tired of Being Tired. This session is all about crew fatigue, a reality none of us can escape.
Again, I think any session or any training that you take, you may not need it today, but you don't know if you'll need it in 6 months. So always good to have a little exposure to it, I think.
Exactly. I was also thinking we need to take advantage of the regional events that NBAA has. I mean, they have one in North Texas. They've got one up in Teterboro. I know they have one in the West Coast. And starting with BACE and then branching out and taking advantage and making sure that there is a flight attendant presence at these regional events would really help keep the momentum going, because I think they have those, 3-4 times a year, break it up quarterly, as well as, like you said, the CFA connection zone, kind of keeping that just dialogue going. So I really hope BACE will energize everybody, and it will make everybody want to go home and see what they can do and can kind of contribute to their own small area. I joke about, I said, start small. If it just means, hey, does anybody want to meet for coffee? Right. And see who shows up. And then to that, lead on to possibly, a regional event. So I think that for me, I'd like to see what we can do with the regional events and see at least if we can work towards getting one educational session at a regional event would be fantastic, I think.
And what Lesley talks about with just meeting and little small grassroots type things, it's amazing what you can do bringing people together, but we need to start leaning on each other more. And again, we don't want BACE to just replace the conference as this one big hoopla, and then we all take off and go away. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but it's up to us to kind of seize on it. No one's just going to say, okay, this is what you guys are going to do. This is what you need to do. And that's where we'll also rely, again, on people who are attending BACE in our community and people to let us know, like, tell us what you think would be good. What are some ideas? What would you like to see classes on? And we'll be happy to work on it and do the best we can to be able to provide. Sometimes too, trying to get things started people always think it's got to be some big production like BACE or some big production like the Flight Attendant Conference, and it doesn't. It can simply be exactly what Lesley's talked about that she's done down in Dallas. We don't always have to go. Sometimes it's hard to scale back and just start small. Even having at the regional forum, trying to organize, and let's just have a flight attendant meeting. We have a couple, hopefully we have 1 or 2 committee members that could be there and attend to sort of be the host and moderate, for example. But there's so much need to just get together and ask each other questions, in an environment of your peers where you don't feel intimidated, where we have everyone from brand new to seasoned veterans. I mean, there's always something to learn. I mean, Lesley taught me a better way to do a duvet cover. I've been flying all this time, and now I'm like, when did I find this out? I just learned how to do it easier. I've been fighting with that duvet for all these years. So there's always something, but a simple meeting can be so valuable to people, which leads into something else. So yeah, I think that's a great idea and something we should definitely think about for sure.
One of the things that committee has done is the scholarship process and our program really has done well this year. We offered 19 scholarships and had 49 applicants, and that's a big success for our flight attendant flight tech committee.
That's really outstanding. That's kind of one thing I was trying to drive with the scholarships too, because it's not just for new to industry. It's continual education. There's so many monetary awards that you can use it towards your training of choice. I don't understand why people don't apply for scholarships. It just blows my mind. To hear 49, it's good, but there used to be over 100 every year. There's so many amazing scholarships out there.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with promoting that and letting people know. It's always, like Julie said, it's, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't do your networking and talk to people who say, hey, there are 2 scholarships or, 2 committees that are offering scholarships that can be so beneficial. So I have been on my Facebook page promoting WCA scholarship. I'm like, people, it's free money. It is a free, course, a recurrent. Right, that alone you should be applying.
It's really good stuff, and they require membership, but it's $50. I mean, come on. And you get a lot of stuff out of the membership too, not just to be able to apply for the scholarships, but
and the NBAA
twice a year. So
NBAA does not require you to join. You don't have to have a membership to apply for
to be a member. Yep.
I think that for our first, after having a couple years of silence, I guess you could say, or nothing happening really, to come out our first year with 20 scholarships, is something good. It's, as you say, it's free money. And maybe a lot of people don't really know how you even go about getting a scholarship, for example. That it's a simple essay, but a lot of it is just the attention to detail in how you present your package, whether it's following the directions, you answer the question. It's something as simple as just what it's all about. You write an essay and you provide the documentation. But I think that's one thing we can do better this year is, and we will probably, our goal, obviously we had 19 this year, so certainly we would hope to have more for next year. There's thousands of dollars of money, and especially for those that are new or just getting started out. If you're contracting, we all know how expensive training is, but even for full-time flight attendants, for example, unfortunately, not every flight department is really supportive or maybe has the budget to be able to send you to more advanced culinary training, or maybe to go, to some sort of, firefighting workshop or something like that. The people that we want to target to join that group are people that, see or have experienced some of the things that are negative against our community, and that you want to try to find a way to do it better, or make it better. No one is going to stand up for us other than ourselves. We can't sit and wait for pilots to say, oh, flight attendants are really important and you guys really matter and things. So I think in the past, perhaps, Scott, you can talk about this since you were on the committee before, but it seemed as if we need to have our voice heard more often. Even though now we are going to have a focus at BACE, I don't want that to still just be the only, oh, well, we had a conference before and now we're just going to do it at BACE. No, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but try to make a repeat of the conference. We're not trying to do that over again. We're certainly going to take the parts that were good and successful, which is the education and the scholarship. The lead meeting has always been important, and Lesley and I have already talked about some things that we might actually expand. It's going to be based, hopefully, on some of the input that we get this year from our attendees. We want people to tell us what they thought was good, what they would like to see more of. Is there a need, for example, to have maybe a contractor forum type meeting? Is there a need to actually just have a flight attendant meeting, perhaps, for people to just talk and have open discussion and share ideas? So, we want people to help us so we can help them by finding out what's important.
Thank you, Julie and Lesley. We have more Plane Talk episodes focusing on BACE coming up. We'll be featuring how to navigate the convention to get the most out of your time, as well as providing an event schedule with all the recommended presentations, exhibitor demos, and all of the social networking events and opportunities, starting with Tuesday morning with coffee chat at the Castle Hotel between 7 and 8. Here you can join other attendees for a meet and greet over coffee, as well as meeting many of the NBAA Flight Attendant Committee members. This is a great way for creating connections just prior to the opening of the convention. Plus, we have an episode featuring a corporate flight attendant and protocol expert on how to properly and effectively network yourself. So there's a lot more to come regarding BACE. The connection has got you covered. If you are interested in applying to join the NBAA Flight Attendant Committee, there's a link in the description box, as well as all the other information we have discussed in this episode. Thank you for watching.